In this lesson, we're still focused on expressions, but now we're going to work with expressions that have multiple operations. In other words, we're going to put it all together, what we've learned so far. So let's first review what your objectives are. You are going to learn how to evaluate expressions with multiple operations following the order of operations. Let's not forget, always in math, we must follow order of operations. And then you're going to learn how to evaluate expressions with more than one variable today. All right, since we are focused on algebra, let's review what algebra is. Remember, it's the study of mathematical symbols and rules and how to manipulate them. Okay, so keys to success, focus today. What does each symbol mean? And specifically, what rule are you going to have to follow today? Order of operations. Always, that is a very important rule in algebra, and especially when evaluating. All right, so let's review the order of operations. This is maybe something a little different than what you've seen. You've probably so far seen that order of operations. A way to remember it is PEMDAS. But as you get older, we're going to have multiple grouping symbols, not just the parentheses. So therefore, I kind of like to get kids to change that P to a G for grouping symbol. Down here, it shows you a few different ones that you have to get used to using. All right, so first order of operation is simplify anything inside of a grouping symbol if you have it. We won't have those today to worry about. Second step to order of operations is do any exponent operations. Like if you end up with 5 squared, well, that would mean 5 times 5 times itself twice, which is 25. But again, we will not have any of that today. The steps that you're going to have to focus on, you're going to have a combination of multiplication and division, subtraction, and addition. So it's very important that you remember order of operations says you have to do your multiplication and your division before you can add and subtract. And then finally, the last step is subtract and add. So once all your multiplication and division is done, then you'll work from left to right and doing the subtraction and addition. So now let's review an expression. Remember, we have to make sure that we understand the symbols. So let's pick everything out. Let's first focus right here. We learned in the last lesson that when we see that fraction also implies division. So right there, I have the variable divided by 4. Okay, the next symbol right here, the addition. That's one you're really familiar with, the adding. So then we would have to add 7. All right, the next symbol right here, you're very familiar with subtraction. No big deal. But the symbol that you may not see because it's the invisible one right here. Remember when you have that coefficient and that variable almost like they're glued together, that is implying multiplication. So in this expression right here, we have 4 operations going on. So what would we end up doing first? Let's think about that. Following order of operations, we would do our multiplication and division first. So I would do that divide. Once I find out what x is, in fact, to make this simple, let's come up with something for x. Let's do x is 8. Why did I choose 8? Because 8 can be divided by 4. So I would end up dividing. Since x is 8, I would do 8 divided by 4 first. Okay, now what would I do next? I would go to my multiplication, and I would do 2 times, remember, x is 8, next. So 2 times 8 would be the second thing I would do. And let's go ahead and look at what that would give us. So I'm going to do my evaluation, or my substitution step. If x is 8, it would become 8 divided by 4 plus a 7 minus 2 times 8. So remember, we would do 8 divided by 4 first, which would become 2. Then I would do 2 times 8 next, which would become 16. Then I'm going to copy down everything that's in the middle. I get plus 7 and minus 16. So see, we had not talked about add and subtraction. It's still there. We have to add and then we have to subtract. So to finish this problem, we would go 2 plus 7 and then we would take that number and subtract 16, which does end up giving us a negative number, which you're not quite there. Okay, so now what you're going to do next is you're going to answer some questions, making sure that you understand how to follow the order of operations and that you